A big problem that men have in society currently is that they have difficulty making social connections with people, be it platonic, romantic, sexual, whatever. And a lot of that is to do with how they're taught to act, to never think about their emotions, bottle them up, lock them away, throw away the key, you know? So to have examples of like a positive masculinity expressing these feelings in a vulnerable way in music that slaps is really good. And like I said before, it's a representation of that like internal dissonance of what masculinity is supposed to be and like what the positive form of it could be, in that like lock the emotions away, throw away the key. In the music video, feeling disconnected from the music, like you're out hanging out with your bros, smiling, laughing, having a good time, but the audio is this dude literally torn apart by losing their partner. That's a real thing. Men do this literally all the time. They pretend everything's okay on the outside because they're supposed to. Society says they have to, or else they're not manly or they're less than. But it's happening to everybody, right? So I found this song from Legxacy, DJ, from this Tim Bon Toast video. It feels like we're breaking new ground on this one. And I see this video and I'm like, okay, what's this about? I trust Tim Bon Toast music takes. And then I listen to it. And holy shit, it's so good. Listen to this shit. Are you ready? You're not ready.
You used to promise me you'd teach me how to DJ. You reminded me of all the things we used to do. No more.
It's a beautiful song, dude.
Teach me how to DJ anymore.
It's so good. And there's a lot of reasons why it's good too. So obviously the singing is really nice. Obviously Legxacy as the vocal talent, very, very good. Very emotional, really fits the lyrics that are being delivered and what's being talked about. The production is incredible. It's a little upbeat, but it's still sad. You got the guitars in the background as well. The beat drops are sick. I really like this this vocal sample and how they've cut it up before the drop. So that's sick. The lyrics themselves are really cool too. Like, you used to promise me, you teach me how to DJ, and then, you know, we go through some stuff, and then you don't want to teach me how to DJ anymore. So, like, they were previously in a relationship, now they're not, you know, the vibes, right? But there's a tonal difference between the song and the music video that I like a lot. Because, like, he's singing this in this music video. This music video is very, like, hip-hop, rap music video style. I mean, you got, like, the gang's all here. All your friends are around. You're fucking dancing to the music and performing for the camera, for the video. And they're all, like, dancing, smiling, laughing, having fun. But the lyrics are very sad. And the vocal delivery is very sad. What that delivers to me is that, you know, tonal dissonance, the disconnect between like feeling these things in your mind and like thinking about these things, the breakup you had, the fact that you still really care about them and think about them all the time, but they don't with you, the prospect of like the future that could have been, and you're here with your bros, with your friends, hanging out, having a great time, but that tonal difference is like, okay, I'm here having a great time, but internally like I'm fucked. But I'm not going to show it to everybody around me. I'm going to bottle that shit up as, you know, a man does and pretend nothing is wrong, right? It's really cool. I'm a big fan. And the sound is sick too. Like, the vocal delivery is so good too. Like, the way his voice breaks up when he delivers it. It's like he's going to cry on the mic, which is like what you're trying to do, right? Like, I was cooking last night and I was singing along, like, in the way that I can. And I was trying to, because I'm a fucking parrot, I was trying to mimic the way his voice was, like, breaking up with this shit. And, like, I literally, like, started crying. So, and it's not, I'm not crying because I'm thinking of, like, my own experiences and, like, I miss somebody right now. Because I don't. I've been out of the game for 6 years now. But now, obviously, since I've been on estrogen for a while, my brain handles emotions better and I'm more emotionally intelligent because testosterone makes you a fucking idiot. I've never been like a big crier, right? Especially before HRT. But now that's a little bit different. But even then, before that, The things that would always get me is watching media, listening to media that is either emotional in itself, like this one is, but also seeing someone excel at their craft, seeing someone very clearly have an idea about what they're trying to do. Obviously, there's a lot of effort that's gone into building up that skill, the practice that they've had to do to get to that point, and then delivering on it, providing that for the people, you know, watching, listening, and then the reception of that media from their audience. That shit gets me. Also, like movies and stuff where, you know, people overcome adversity and all this kind of stuff. Seeing people excel really gets me. And I always theorize that it's because I would like to have that feeling, right? I don't know that I've ever felt like I did it. This is it. I've achieved a thing that I wanted to do. I don't know that I've ever felt that way in my life. Now I do have like ADHD depression shit, so that could definitely like make that difficult. Even if it like could have happened, it could like cloud it up. You never know. But I think that's why. And it's just really cool. I think it's really neat. So like this video is just really good for that. The song is really good for that. Gonna be honest, I never understand the whole breakup sadness thing being so prevalent in media. I know it's a big thing in music, but I never had a relationship ending hit that hard. Well, I mean, yeah, but like it could be like just a different experience, right? It's also like media that a lot of people can relate to, so there's like an incentive to make media about that. And obviously you can do that at like a really surface level, like just trying to do it to get the views or whatever kind of way. But I think with Jim Legxacy's DJ, it's actually very clear that this is some real shit. Like this is actually something he's going through. And if it's not, then he's delivered it well enough to give me that impression. And I think that's still worthwhile. Even if it's not actually real, I think that's still worthwhile because it's giving me those emotions. It's making me think about these things in that way. So I think that's still effective media. Anyway, I am a very big fan. The production is incredible too. For someone who's like really about production, it's really good. The music video is really good. It's shot and directed very well to elicit the vibes it's trying to give. I was surprised to hear gentle weeps in there. Well, that's the thing too. This is a fairly masculine person as far as we could tell. I don't know much about them. They seem like fairly masculine. Like maybe the hair is a little bit more feminine, but like barely, right? Because that's kind of the style nowadays. Like a lot of people are doing that if you got that type of hair. So like, I assume Jim is a guy. Let's just cancel me really if it's if they turn out to be, you know, whatever else. But it seems like an interest. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too deep on this. I don't know. But it feels like a really good introspection on the difficulties with masculinity that men will have when it comes to going through very emotional moments like a breakup. Because, like, it's a very, like, the lyrics are very tender. It's very sweet and vulnerable, which is not that common for men to be doing or masculine people to be doing, which is already cool. Like, we need more of that so that more people feel comfortable doing that. A big problem that men have in society currently is that they have difficulty making social connections with people, be it platonic, romantic, sexual, whatever. And a lot of that is to do with how they're taught to act, to never think about their emotions, bottle them up, lock them away, throw away the key, you know? So to have examples of like a positive masculinity expressing these feelings in a vulnerable way in music that slaps is really good. And like I said before, it's a representation of that like internal dissonance of what masculinity is supposed to be and like what the positive form of it could be in that like lock the emotions away, throw away the key. In the music video, feeling disconnected from the music. Like you're out hanging out with your bros, smiling, laughing, having a good time. But the audio is this dude literally torn apart by losing their partner. That's a real thing. Men do this literally all the time. They pretend everything's okay on the outside because they're supposed to. Society says they have to, or else they're not manly or they're less than. But it's happening to everybody, right? It's really good. There's actually been a lot of discourse about like male loneliness and isolation, and there's been a lot of stupid shit said about it. But essentially the take is this. There have been studies that show that both men and women are having difficulties forming social connections with other people, not only just like platonic friends, but also romantic interests and sexual interests, right? And obviously that's not good because as a society, we want people to be going out, making friends, getting into romantic engagements, just being human beings, and that's what human beings do, right? We want that to be the case. So if it's not, then that's kind of a problem societally. You would imagine that then there would be societal factors that would contribute to that, and there are. There are a lot of them. I've talked about a lot of them in this video as well. One of the major ones you can look at when it comes to that is the overall social isolation, alienation of everybody in the United States and North America broadly, because Canada ain't that much better, and the fact that our cities are designed to isolate people because they're designed around cars instead of humans. Like, if you're not in a city, you're probably not going to have the best access to public transport. And, you know, we're in the UK, bruv. So we've got double-decker buses and, like, the tube and all that, right? It's better than North America, that's for sure, when it comes to that. Walkability and all that kind of stuff. But if you're outside of a city in the US, you got to drive, like, I used to have to do that where I used to live for, like, 24 years of my life. Yet I had to drive 30 minutes to get anywhere because I lived in the middle of nowhere because it was the cheapest place I could find to live, and I did not have a lot of money. And even when I was living with my mom and I lived in an area that was a little bit closer to civilization, it's really difficult to walk anywhere anyway. And it's also difficult to take public transport because it might as well be non-existent. It's just not good. And if it does exist, it's usually not the best quality. So you're not able to get around anywhere because everything is designed in such a way that you have to have a car. Cars are expensive. People spend a lot of money on cars, and they're bad for not only the roads to have so many cars on them, because it costs the state more to have to keep up with them, to maintain them, but it's also worse for the environment, you know, because that's kind of important. And it's also worse for the health of the people in society physically. You get a lot of exercise. You burn a lot of calories walking from point A to point B. Say you live in a place where you do have good walkability and you have like a doctor's appointment, and you can walk to your doctor's appointment. Maybe it's like a 10-minute walk away, 15-minute walk away. That's a 30-minute round trip. You're burning like, I don't know, more than probably 60 calories, right? Like maybe probably like 100 some calories at least. That's passive exercise that you're doing. And ideally the walkability is good to the point where it's enjoyable at the very least, or not terrible. And it's better for you. Not only that, if the cities were designed around humans like they used to be, you know, we have to return and all that, you have more opportunities for random social interaction. If you're driving in a car from point A to point B to get to your house to a parking lot, and then to go into your strip mall, the random social interaction you might have is like in the parking lot, but when does that happen? With like a random person? You're usually just ignoring people in the parking lot because you're in a fucking parking lot. Or in the store itself, but like who's going to try to chat up people in a store? That's weird. But if you're just walking down the street and there's a whole bunch of people around you, there are people sitting outside of shops and having, you know, coffee or whatever. There are people going into whatever commercial stores to buy clothes or something. You have more opportunities to like be a passerby to other people, and there are more opportunities not only for community gathering and events like that where you can actually meet people and be there for a shared purpose, but also if you're just in transit, you could like randomly see a person and be like, oh hey, I know you from, I don't know, we had like a yoga class together at some point, how you've been, and all that kind of stuff. And that kind of stuff is really good for human social development. It's good for creating friends, creating romantic engagements, sexual engagements. And clearly in society we need that, and it's on the decline. Cars fuck everything up. The automobile industry has completely removed the possibility for a lot of people in this country to be able to be human, right? You are now a cyborg, and your car is supposed to be an extension of the self. And that's bullshit because people got to pay money for that. We've commodified walking around. It's not good. Funny thing is, it would be even better for small businesses too. Yup. It's literally better in every single conceivable metric except for the profit margins of the automobile industry. It saves the state money because they don't have to maintain this massive sprawl of roads. More cars on the road means more maintenance on the roads because of how physics works. It's better for the people because of everything I've just said as well. Better for the climate, which is also better for the people and everything that isn't a human being. It's better for the businesses. It's just better. This is why, like, Americans will visit older cities in Europe and be like, oh my God, it's like a Disney movie here. Soy, 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 soy. I had a hotel and I walked out of the hotel and I could just walk down the street to a cafe. And there was a person there who was our interpreter, and they actually lived in a house and could also walk to this place. Isn't that crazy? It's like the Studio Ghibli movies. And it's like, yeah, man, you like that idea because that's how it's supposed to be. But for some reason, you go back to the United States and it's like, whatever, man. Like, it's how it's always been my entire life. So surely we can't change it because I'm stupid and don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It is possible to change it. We live in the most wealthy country the face of the earth has ever seen, the most powerful country the face of the earth has ever seen. We lack the will. We don't lack the ability. Also, roads take up a lot of space for housing. If you had less massive interstates whose sole purpose is moving vehicles, you would have more open space for businesses, residential, parks, recreation, community centers. But no. Also, the suburbs are shit. Fuck the suburbs. All my homies hate the suburbs. Shockingly, you know, there's a lot of drug abuse in the suburbs. Shockingly, there's a lot of mass murderers spawned out of the suburbs where there's literally nothing to do and you feel as alienated as possible that you go and shoot up a fucking school. Fuck the suburbs. It's some bullshit. It is literally torture. I don't know why people would actively make the choice to move to the suburbs. I think there's like a class dynamic of like feeling like, ooh, I made it. And also for some people, maybe, oh, like I'm better than those other people that live in the city because I live in a suburb. It's literally torture. Like, I'm not too sure why you would willingly do that to yourself. Like, oh, yeah, you want to have to get into a car and drive 30 minutes to get to where you're going? 20 minutes, even 15 minutes to get to where you're going? I can leave my house, and there are so many things I can do, and I just walk. That's it. I walk. And it is the coolest shit I have ever experienced, and I'm 26. I didn't get to experience that until 24. But it is genuinely huge. Yeah, it's also really good for your friends when you're younger. It's better for kids. Roads are safer for kids when there's less cars on them. It's also better for kids developing their own independence so that when they become adults, they are more ready for the real world, which people always worry about. Because in a lot of European countries, once kids get to a certain age, they bike to school. They walk to school. Their parents don't have to drive them everywhere, which is better for their health, better for their social interaction, because they can also bike to see their friends, right? Because they're all in the same area. Or they could take, like, public transit or whatever. And it produces healthier and more well-adjusted, well-rounded, empathetic adults. Also, if you're like, oh my god, I want to live in the suburbs because it's so quiet, you know, and I need the peace and quiet. You know what makes cities loud? Cars. Beep, beep. It's the cars, dumbass. If there were less cars on the road, you wouldn't be having so much noise. If the cities were more walkable, there was more public transit, there wouldn't be as many cars in the city, so it wouldn't be as loud. Cars are infinitely louder than human beings are, even when they're like gathered in mass for like an event. And it's better for the brain. The peace and quiet is pretty chill. Like the peace and quiet is good for the human brain. But you don't have to live in the suburbs in the middle of nowhere to do that. And rural areas still exist. If you want to, like, own land and live on a farm, you can do that still. In a lot of European countries that have really good walkable, public transitable cities, there are still rural areas. People are still living on a farm, you know, producing whatever crop they're producing. You're living in the middle of nowhere. You can still do that. You're still allowed to do that. Anyway, it's a really good song. I'm glad it allowed me to parlay that into a talk about the walkability of cities. And when it comes to the conversation about male loneliness and all that, women are also subject to the same thing, by the way. Society just allows them to be more open and empathetic and emotionally intelligent because they're not called gay for doing that. And because of that, they're able to, you know, fare a little bit better. If we allow like men to do the same thing, obviously there's different considerations, but it'll definitely be better for them. But, you know, women do still struggle to make friends in our current society. This is not just a man's problem. It's a man's problem in the fact that men are also affected by it, and men have their own specific problems as it pertains to toxic masculinity in lieu of a form of positive masculinity, which I talk about. But women are subject to it too. It's a societal problem with societal causes and can be solved through societal means. Anybody telling you otherwise is like literally just leading you around by the nose so that you can keep giving them donations. Anybody telling you it's the duplicitous women and it's the social media dating apps making no. There's no like what do you do for that? How do you fix that problem if that's the issue? It's clearly not. You're not so dumb as to think that that's actually what it is. Contrary to popular belief, women are usually pretty attracted to men as long as those men are nice, empathetic, interesting to them, etc., etc. You know, historically speaking, men have been attracted to women and women have been attracted to men. And, you know, all other flavors of sexuality in between for my queers out there. But specifically, obviously, in this case, anytime we talk about the male loneliness thing, it's all about, like, cishet white men. Or I should say cishet men, because, of course it is. Yeah, actually, it's hookup culture. Yeah, exactly. It's just a way to get you to focus on something that's not the real problem, because the causes of the problem are beneficial to capital owners, the automobile industry, social media companies in some ways, because, driving that kind of misogynistic engagement is profitable, a whole bunch of shit. We have to allow men to be more open, be more vulnerable with their feelings, be more vulnerable with each other, platonically affectionate with each other, because being touch-starved is a real thing. And, sure, you might yearn for, romantic or sexual touch, but platonic touch is also very helpful in the interim. This is why, family members are usually, pretty handsy. You hug each other. Some cultures, you kiss each other on the cheek or whatever. Hang out with your shoulder over somebody, It's really helpful. It makes the brain feel good. Hug your bros. Ask them how they're doing. Anyway. I've been trying to deal with my loneliness recently, and one of the biggest problems is I feel there's nowhere I can talk to people. Oh, yeah, exactly, 569. That's what we're talking about, too. In addition to the fact that cities are designed for cars and not humans, there aren't a lot of, public gathering places. And a lot of that is, ironically, a lot to do with anti-homelessness measures, getting rid of benches and seating areas so that the homeless can't utilize them. This is a massive problem that cities have, because instead of building more housing and decommodifying housing so that people have homes and are no longer homeless, instead the approach is out of sight, out of mind. You just, shove the homeless people off to somewhere else and don't allow them to be in the major urban centers so that, the wealthier people who do have homes don't have to look at them, right? Which is it's not even a solution. It's another problem compounding on another problem, which is homelessness existing to begin with. But there aren't a lot of community centers anymore. So a big thing when people talk, oh my God, how do I make friends? How do I make friends? How do I do that? Usually when you're in school, it's very easy because you're in school. Well, it's not very easy, but it's easier because you're in school. You're there with a shared purpose as other people because you're there to go to school, to learn, to have an education. And it's also a social engagement. Everybody's around your same age group. Everybody's got similar interests because of that, yada, yada, yada. It's very easy to talk to people because there's no weird pressure on others. Why is this person talking to me? Well, they are because we're in the same school. Obviously. So then when you graduate from whatever level of schooling you get to and you go into the real world, what do you do then? Well, usually people say, oh, well, you got to get a hobby, you got to volunteer, you got to sign up for community events and stuff like that, and you can find people through that. And that's good advice if those things exist, but they don't in a lot of places. So then what then? Online? Sure, but dating apps are fucked, and meeting people online otherwise is not super easy, and it's also a bit of a risk for some people. So it's how do we make friends now? It's really difficult. And even if we did make friends, how do we see each other and where do we go? Everywhere we go, I have to spend money there. You want to hang out, you got to go to a restaurant. You got to go to the movies. You got to go to a cafe or something, and you got to pay money to be able to sit in there. Parks are really nice. Trails are really nice for walking and stuff like that. But you could also just walk around the city if that was a thing that you could do in the city and it was enjoyable. You could also do that. There are park benches you can sit on, city benches you could sit on, just hang out, chat, people watch, We don't really have that option anymore. Yeah, bars exist at least, but you also have to spend money there. There's not a lot of free ways to have these random social interactions and form relationships with people. Almost everything you do costs you money. Even basketball courts and parks are cut by car infrastructure. Oh, yeah. And this is a big problem with why it's difficult to talk to strangers out and about. Because if you're not in that public setting for a shared purpose, if you're in transit walking around to wherever, or even fucking driving, if you're in a restaurant or whatever, or if you're in a shop to go get clothes or something, you're not usually gonna walk up to some random person and talk to them because it feels weird. Why is this random person talking to me? I'm here trying to get my groceries. But if we had more public areas where you could just exist, well then yeah, people are there and they're leisurely hanging out. At that point, there's a lot less pressure if you're just going to go up to someone, talk to them. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, and then you fuck off if it doesn't, and if so, there you go. Yeah, it's at the point where you got to make friends with the people you work with, which is fucked. You can do that, and that's fine, but that shouldn't be the only way, and that's still a commodification of your social engagements because you're there to make money for somebody else. Something's got to change. Enough of that. That was a good conversation. And I'm happy this music video was what spawned that, because I did not expect that to happen. I wanted to talk about the song and how much I liked it. I didn't expect that whole tangent to occur though. This video's kind of called as Angry Vicky. Thanks so much for the support and also for being an active chatter in my Twitch chat. Very pog. If you'd like to be the next Connor Callout, all you gotta do is follow me on Twitter at ConnorCC, retweet my video links when they go live. Remember to subscribe to the channel, hit all notifications on when you hit the bell, leave a like if you'd like, comment something super cool down below about how men should have the ability to make friends, and so should everyone else. And also, speaking of, follow my Tumblr. I just made a Tumblr. My primary thing is still going to be Twitter, but I'm just going to try to build up a Tumblr as well because the future of Twitter is uncertain. So follow that and reblog my stuff or something. I don't know how Tumblr works, but I'll figure it out. Have a good day.